Today I wanted to take a moment to talk about how I turned this into this. This event was a huge turning point in my life that gave birth to a lot of who I am now as a person. I've chosen to do this video now because I just came back from spending the day with my good friend Albo, who is doing a documentary on the underground drift and street racing scene in Japan, and it was my first time since the accident being in a moderately fast car, and I kind of had a bit of a freak out. For obvious reasons, I didn't video record the freak out, but it brought a lot of stuff back. Okay, so the backstory. It was back in about 2010 and I had just moved back to Japan. One of my neighbors in the area that I was living in had a really cool drift car. We talked, we became friends, he took me out to the circuit, he took me out to the mountains, and naturally I fell in love with drifting. Now, owning a race car is something that has always been one of my biggest dreams. So this friend was the leader of a drifting / racing team. And one of the other people on the team was starting a family and getting rid of their car. And they were willing to sell it to me for what worked out to about $2,000 American. So this car was somewhere north of 300 horsepower, which basically just means it's really strong and really fast, but it was terrifying to drive. But I also made the mistake of making this car my daily driver. And let me tell you that a 300 plus horsepower drifting car is not a daily driver for just so many reasons. The leader of our drift team told me not to take this car for any long drives because it still needed to go through a full check. It was wise advice that I did not follow. In fact, I tried to take a 300-kilometer round trip drive with 4 people in the car. And that was my first mistake. My second mistake was putting on brand new tires the morning of that drive. They were the cheapest tires that I could get, and I didn't do anything to warm them up or break them in before we got on the road. Okay, so what happened with the actual accident? We were on the highway, again, 4 people in an unchecked, non-daily driver car with brand new, cheap, plasticky tires on the back. Terrible idea. And we weren't going that fast, so we were changing over to the slow lane, which in Japan is the far left lane. And it was during this lane change that something went wrong. The car started to swerve, which basically turned into the car doing a full spin out on the highway. I went head on with a bus and got thrown into a metal guardrail. It was at this point that another car came up from behind, rear-ended the car, and that was it. Now obviously the car was destroyed, but my best friend who was sitting in the back managed to put his face through one of those tiny little windows, you know, the ones that don't open? And he was bleeding out really badly from his forehead. I remember this moment super clear. He was bleeding out fast. There was blood everywhere. And I really thought life was over. I don't think I've ever felt so much fear in my entire life. The paramedics were able to save my friend, and amazingly, the rest of us walked away without a single scratch. And that's basically what happened. Now, I had planned out most of the stuff that I wanted to talk about in this video up until this point, but I hadn't really thought about how I want to end it. I know that this video is really different from most of the stuff that I do, but I wanted to share this story, and I wanted to share it now because this story is me. This story created so much of who I am as a person right now, here, today, and so many of the things that I do. So thank you if you've watched this long. Also, just so you know, I filmed this video at almost 5 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, thanks for watching.